You know the feeling, right? For a lot of us, a late night workout is the ultimate escape. The whole world is asleep. You finally have the squat racks entirely to yourself, and it's literally just you and the iron. But what happens when that isolation stops being your personal sanctuary and actually starts becoming a trap? Well, today, we're walking through 3 genuinely unsettling, heavily documented late-night gym horror stories. We're going to break down the data from these encounters and look really closely at the specific tactics used by the people hiding in the shadows of our 24-hour fitness centers.
I used to think the gym at 3 a.m. was my sanctuary. I was wrong. This quote honestly just perfectly sets the stage for our analysis today. Reveals a truly terrifying reality. In every single one of these cases, the victims weren't just working out. They were being actively studied. And by the time they even realized they were in danger, the people watching them had already made their moves.
Tale 1, The Mimic. Let's look at a 2:30 a.m. encounter in your standard 24-hour gym.
Okay, so picture this. Our narrator is a bit of a loner, totally relishing the heavy silence of an empty parking lot. That is, until a 6'4" stranger walks in. No gym bag, just wearing a black turtleneck and cargo pants. And I want you to notice the absolute escalation of this stalker's behavior. Step 1, he just sits and stares from a chest press machine. Step 2, when the narrator moves over to the dumbbells, the stranger follows, standing a mere 3 feet away. He's watching the narrator's reflection in the mirror, matching his exact pace. So, step 3, the narrator tests him. He walks all the way across the entire gym to the cardio section, and sure enough, the stalker follows, sitting on the stationary bike directly behind him. The stranger's breathing. It wasn't heavy from exercise at all. It was unnervingly slow, deliberate, and just calm. So, the psychological terror really cranks up a notch when the narrator decides to retreat to the supposedly empty locker room to grab his keys and just get out of there. He hears whispering coming from a closed stall. It's this high-pitched, frantic man's voice, and it's immediately being answered by a deep, angry growl. It sounds exactly like a violent two-person argument. But here is the terrifying detail. The timing is way too perfect. There is zero overlap between the voices, no interruptions whatsoever. It was just one person sitting alone in that stall, acting out both sides of a violent conversation. Then, the whispering just abruptly stops. Dead silence, followed by a slow, rhythmic knocking starting on the inside of the stall door. Naturally, the narrator doesn't stick around to find out what's about to come out of that stall. He absolutely bolts for the exit. And as he reaches his car out in the lot, he takes one look back. The stalker is standing right at the gym's front window. His face is pressed completely flat against the glass, wearing this completely empty, knowing grin.
So you might be wondering, how did this guy even get in? Well, the narrator later found out this man wasn't even in the gym's membership system. He used a really common security breach known as tailgating. That's when you catch the door right behind an actual member who just swiped their keycard. He had literally been doing this for weeks, patiently waiting in the shadows for the exact perfect moment when someone was completely alone.
Moving on to Tale 2, The Glass Reflection. Welcome to the 1 a.m. fishbowl.
This one is set in a commercial district completely surrounded by empty parking garages. And we need to talk about a massive architectural vulnerability here. Think of the fishbowl effect. On the left side of the equation, you've got the brilliantly lit gym interior, floor-to-ceiling windows offering absolute total visibility to anyone outside. But on the right, the pitch-black exterior. You can't see out, but they can see in perfectly. While running on the treadmill, our narrator spots the silhouette standing under a flickering streetlight across the dark asphalt. It's a guy in a trench coat. After stepping away to get a quick drink of water, the narrator looks back, and the man has already crossed the street. He's now pressed right up against the glass with his hands cupped around his eyes to block the indoor glare, staring directly in at them.
So the narrator understandably retreats to the front desk to find the overnight staff, but the office is completely empty and the lights are dimmed. But sitting right there, right next to the employee computer, is a torn square of newspaper, and written on the back of it in this messy ink, the narrator's car license plate number, along with their exact arrival time for every single night over the past week. This was absolutely not a random encounter. It was a calculated hunt.
Looking back at the window, the situation escalates so violently but completely silently. The man outside just starts laughing. It's this wide-open, jagged scream of a laugh, but the thick glass makes it completely mute. Then, he starts tapping on the glass with a long fingernail. Tap, tap, tap. Realizing that thick front pane won't easily break, the stalker abruptly changes tactics. He just walks right out of view, heading straight toward the building's back entrance, an entrance that, crucially, has 0 security cameras.
Inside, the narrator hears the heavy metal back door rattle as a key actually slides into the deadbolt.
Sprinting for the front emergency exit, the narrator triggers the alarm and literally runs all the way to the police station. When the cops finally arrived at the gym, they took a deeply chilling inventory. That back door? It was propped open with a gym towel. And sitting right there on the locker room bench where the narrator usually changed their clothes was a pair of blue latex gloves and a roll of duct tape. And the absolute worst part of this? They never caught the man.
All right, Tale 3, the inventory. Set in a bare-bones, totally unmonitored motel gym.
So, it's a Friday night, and the narrator is completely alone doing squats. Suddenly, debris falls from a slightly askew ceiling vent above them. Feeling like they're being watched, they rush into the locker room, only to find their locked locker slightly ajar. All their clothes are completely gone, and what replaced them? A single yellow flower and a deeply unsettling note that just read, "We know it was you." The narrator has zero idea what this means. They have no connection to a yellow flower, and the sheer utter absurdity of it all understandably sends them right into a panic.
And right then, the true nightmare begins. A soft, muffled shh suddenly echoes from the air vent directly above the showers. The narrator grabs their towel and bag, sprinting for the locker room door, but it won't budge. Someone has actually jammed a chair under the exterior handle. They are locked inside the room with whatever is up there in the ceiling. Looking up at the vent, a heavy boot starts protruding from the opening.
A man slowly begins to lower himself down from the ceiling crawl space. Simply a wrinkled, completely emotionless man who looked like he had entirely lost his mind. The narrator screams, throwing a heavy gym bag right at him, but the man doesn't even flinch. He just smiles at them and whispers, "Have a good night." Suddenly, the door bursts open. The gym owner had actually spotted movement on his security cameras and rushed in, which causes the man to scramble right back up into the ceiling and vanish.
By the time the police arrive, the man has already escaped into the woods behind the building. But what they find up above the gym is what gives this explainer its incredibly chilling conclusion. They discovered what they called the nest, a fully established hidden encampment right inside the gym's ceiling crawl space.
And here is the official inventory of that nest. Food wrappers, a sleeping bag, and, by far the most horrifying of all, dozens and dozens of photographs of different people working out, all taken looking straight down through the air vents. This man had been living above them, watching them, documenting them for an unknown amount of time. Our narrator wasn't the first victim. They were literally just the first person to finally notice him looking down.
Section 4, the aftermath. It is absolutely time to check your surroundings.
3 different gyms, 3 completely different methodologies. Whether it's a lack of keycard enforcement, the vulnerability of the fishbowl effect, or a totally unmonitored crawl space, isolation creates opportunity. So I want you to leave with this final, absolutely crucial thought. The next time you find yourself entirely alone in a brilliantly lit room surrounded by the dark, or the next time you hear a weird noise in an empty locker room, take a second to really look around. Because while you're purely focused on your gains, who is focused on you? Keep your eyes open, stay safe out there, and thank you so much for joining me for this